Ready?
Yeah.
Hello, and thanks for joining me for part 2 on this locke triplex. My name's Ryan, and this is Levi. And so I've been working on this for a little bit. Every evening I can get a chance to. And so now we're down to everything. Everything's apart. I tried to break everything down into like smaller chunks. Then take it apart, clean it, paint it, put it back together in pieces, then put it back from there. And with this engine, I've been trying to find parts for it, and I haven't had much luck. And so it's pretty bad when, like maybe 50 feet from where I'm at now, I have a complete engine with the gearbox and everything on it that is not locked up. So. And I forgot that I even had that. So I think what I'm going to do for the time being is get that engine running and put it on here while I try to get this original one running. There's a couple issues it does have, but for what I want it for, I think we'll be fine just leaving it like that. It's not really the way you would want to build the engine, but for the availability of parts and the budget, and just for really what I want it for, I'm not going to get super precise with the machining on like the raw journal and stuff like that on the crank. Here's the gear reduction case off the back of the motor, and as you can see, it's just oil. There's no water in there. And here's where the reduction case sits. As you can see, there's no water, no rust, nothing inside the motor. So that's really good. It does turn out this gear for the reduction is machined into the crank, so this crank is going to have to be reused. And then the other videos, you can see where the nut there is rusted away in the threads, so we're going to have to either weld something on there and recut the threads, or we're going to have to figure out some other way to put a nut on that. Might be able to save the threads if I don't mess them up too much trying to get the flywheel and stuff off. There's no rust on the bottom of the piston. So I'm thinking just those compression rings are rusted to the cylinder. I did find a 30 over replacement piston, so it would be nice if we could reuse this engine. The other problem we're going to run into is these valves. Now they was closed when I pulled the head off, so hopefully there's no rust down around the valves or the seats. I mean, I can replace the valves, but the seats, I'd probably have to have them machined. So, I mean, that would be something a machine shop would have to do. Here's the valves, and this valve here, the little brass guide that is pressed down in the block itself, was actually seized to this and was pushed up, and so that was an issue. That may be part of why it was parked. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I found broken on it, so I think that's why it was finally parked. And of course, like, the valves don't look hateful, and you can see the rust where it just ate the top of this valve away. So here's the piston that came out, and this soaked for probably a month and a half with a little bit of diesel, transmission fluid, PB blast, or anything else I could get down in the cylinder, and I still had to really beat on it to get it out. I kind of figured at that point it wasn't salvageable, so it didn't matter. Of course, as you can see, that movement right there in the wrist pin, that's pretty worn, so I imagine this thing had a pretty good noise to it when it did run. So even if rebuilding the original engine, it would already be a piston, possibly a rod, It'd be new valves. This here would have to be fixed, and I did find one of these on eBay, but it's a little over $100 by the time you pay for shipping. Same with the crank. I found another crank, but it would be over $100 as well after shipping. These parts are a little hard to come by, so that's why I'm thinking for now it's probably best to go ahead and use that other engine I have, even though it's not the original engine, but I would like to put the original engine back on it. But for the time being, until I can get this built and find parts for it, I think that'll be a quickest and cheapest option. So here's this other engine I forgot I had. And as you can see, pretty much the exact same thing. I believe this is a 10 horsepower, and I think the other one was a 7 horsepower. But the size should be the same to bolt to the frame, because the oil sump on that mower is built into your the aluminum frame. So some bad news is this transmission's full of water, and to explain why it wouldn't release even though it was in neutral, because the clutch plates are all locked together, and the clutch plates are down here on the side. The biggest problem that I think we're going to run into is these clutches back behind here and the planetaries. I cannot see back in there. I've been spraying oil and PB Blaster back in there, trying to get everything soaked. Took everything apart hoping this would come off, and it won't. So I think what I'm going to have to do is get a socket to fit this. Then after that, then I'll be able to get that to come out. And it already started to separate right here, because that was tight against this collar. So how it looks like this works: when you would move your lever forward to go forward, it pushed this collar over into your clutch pack, which would make the planetaries and the shaft all turn the same direction, and this turned free. This band was not locked up. So whenever you pulled it backwards, it looks like it would pull on this band. It would stop the center shaft, then it would engage your clutches. And what that would do, it would cause your, even though your shaft was still, your input was still spinning in the same direction, the planetaries would actually cause this shaft to reverse, and that's what gave you your reverse gear. And here's the main drive chain. I'm going to try to reuse it. I got it all freed up. I sprayed it with oil in there, and I would normally replace this, but for, like I said, for what I want it for, this will be alright. If it breaks, then I'll just have to go get another one. The drive chain for the roller was actually in really good shape. Once I got all the grease off of it and stuff and cleaned up, it turned out really nice. I don't think we'll have any issues with this one. I went through and I was trying out the Vapor Rust. It's the first time I've ever used it, and like, this was completely locked up. This is the clutch for the reel drive, and I think this turned out really good. And this here's ready to be painted. Go through and get the oil residue off of it so the paint will stick. And here's the top of the transmission. It'll sit on there like that. So that turned out really nice. Then here's the shaft for the transmission that it's set up here, and I got that all freed up. That was completely seized. I had to torch that, and as you can see, I still need to clean up on it a little bit. Here's the plate that went on top of the transmission. It'll sit on there like that. The seal was broke, and that's probably a big part of what made it fill up with water. And here's the idler for the reel drive, and that bearing's in pretty decent shape, enough to reuse. And you can see some of the original paint. There's other places on it where the paint is a lot more clear. Here are the reels on the wings. As you can see, this is bent. I should be able to take that off and acetylene torch, heat that up, and get that straightened back up. Surprisingly, this here is where the dog bones went in to spin these the reels. It would have set off to the side over here like this. Surprisingly, that bearing's not locked up. However, the little balls in here, they're all rusted away and missing. So I'm going to have to figure out how that comes apart, or just get another one somewhere. And what I was talking about, where this side was broke, it's actually broken, I think, 3 or 4 pieces, and even the pin that was in here that attached the wing to the mower, it was even bent. And this is the pin out the other side, and it's still pretty straight. It looks like it's brass, actually. And the wing that was not broken, I don't see anything wrong with it. And I was missing the clamp for the chain that actually holds it up to the handlebars. And I was digging through the toolbox. It was plumb full of rust. And actually, I believe I found the other half of that missing piece, along with some chain links. And it's just amazing how this stuff's so rusted up, and like how there's just like nothing left of it anymore. But I guess 20, 30 some years in the woods rusting away, and eventually it would eat all of it. And so some of these will turn. Like that one, it turns. And anything that was sealed up really good, especially on the roller, there's still plenty of grease in the bearings, and there's really no issues with any of them. I think this is the only reel that still won't turn. The front reel turns. And so here's the motor would sit here, And here's the main drive off of the gear reduction. This is the clutch for the reel drive, which drives these reels, and it freed up and it feels pretty decent. These bearings and stuff, they feel really good. They're not all packed full of rust and junk. So I'd probably just put a little bit of oil or a little bit of grease in there and put the covers back on them. And these seals here, when they go down into the little bearing saddles, that really kept stuff out of it. And this over here at the end, this is the drive that would turn this here for the rear wings. And these bearings, they even turn, and that one down there turns. It's a little stiff, but it turns. Some of the teeth are ate up from rust, but I think that'll be okay. I don't think we'll run into problems on this one. There's another sprocket here where the rust ate almost the entire tooth away. So we may be welding and cutting a new tooth or two for that one. I forget how many teeth are missing. So I think that's about it as far as the problems that I ran into with it so far. I need this hinge. I've yet to locate another one. There's a place, I believe, out of New Jersey that restores these, and they have parts. I might have to contact them and see if I can get a part number. Pretty much everything that's somewhere has a part number stamped into the cast. So that'd make it easy, and I did find a parts catalog for these machines, so I can use that to look up part numbers. Down here on the floor, I have the handlebar assembly. I did get some of the stuff on there to move. The toolbox, I don't think it's going to be fixable. I think it's too far going, and it looks like it's made out of just sheet metal. So maybe I can make another one, or find one on eBay used somewhere. So that I was going to rebuild that all in one piece. And there's one of the little, I guess, a bearing cup I was telling you about for the roller. It's still full of grease. It's no rust. It's in good shape. And here's the front reel. And unlike the rear reels that are 25 inch, this is a 30 inch. And that's what makes this a 75 inch triplex. And I did have this reel turning as well. It's binding on the chainers here, and I was stuck trying to get this bolt over here out when actually it's more of a flathead screw with a tapered head and a nut on the back, and it took me a little while to figure that one out. So my goal here is to get the engine sump and the frame here painted and put back together, get the rear roller in it, get the main rollers and the side and the frame pieces that go across to make this all one piece again, then put that engine on it, get it running, then do the handlebars over by Levi and get them painted and finished and put on it. Then from there I'll do the main roller, or I'll do the front reel, which is sitting over here, and that's probably how I'll leave it for a little while, just to get the main part of the mower running again, and so I can run it around here, the house and stuff, get it running on its own power. Then I can start on the right side wing, because all the parts are there to get that working again. The left wing will be more of a challenge until I can find that hinge and get the parts straightened out, the bent part straightened out. So this is where I'm going to end the video for today. I hope you enjoy my videos, and I was really late on getting all the footage together for the fall tractor show, which was like 2 months ago. That was in October. We're now a week away from Christmas. So we're into December now, and I'd like to get that up, even though it's a little late. So I just hope you enjoy the videos. I like watching this kind of stuff on YouTube, so I figured I'd start my own channel with a little bit of stuff I'm getting into. And hope you all have a good day and a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next time.